Yeah, there's a nice local art supply near where I live, so I was able to pick that up today. Although I think I actually left something at the check-in counter. One of the things I always say is to have a paper towel with you as you're working. We're actually going to need a fair amount of paint, so I'm going to get my syringe, get some clean water. There we go. And I was trained to never use paint straight out of the tube. So we're going to get a little bit of cobalt. Which I originally got for my tick sketches, but it was still too dark. So yeah, Plastic City coming up. It's a fun show. Paul Pelletier is going to be there. Joe St. Pierre. I think Schmalky's going to be there. So plenty of folks to come see. Here, we really want to just cool off the background. I'm going to get a bigger brush going. Bigger brush. More paint. And as the blue goes down, hopefully the orange starts to pop some. Hey Jonathan, what's shaking, man? We're just talking about the Plastic City show coming up this weekend. Yeah, I went with doing a little more coloring. People seem to like seeing the finished product for the most part at the end of the stream, and lately my drawing has been taking me considerably longer. It's been coming out better, but it's just taking longer. If I have to use a hairdryer, I will turn off the microphone. It is in full swing, you know. I actually have to try to book some more shows later in the year, just because I had some question as to whether I was going to be able to do them. And you get to a point where it's like, who knows if they have any space or whatever. Space is at a premium these days, especially for a person of my industry stature, we'll say. One thing I'm finding about this new blue that I bought, it is a little, there's like just a tiny bit of opaqueness to it, which is interesting. I'm wondering if there's white in it. Hey, thanks, Jay. Got a couple of new colors. Yeah, I might have to hit this with the hair dryer, so don't worry. I will mute the microphone if it comes to that. At the paints, these are Cotman watercolors. I've been buying them for years. I've had some of these tubes since going back to college. They last forever. I like them. They're pretty smooth, and they're not cost prohibitive. The Groombach are really nice, but they are definitely more expensive. I've just gotten to where the cake watercolor, like they're good for sketches and quick color, but like if I'm doing a any sort of sit down painting, they're just not. I can't get a smoothness to the cake ones that you can with the tubes. Yeah, and you can with the tube you can throw on way more color. It's not as hard to like get the tones you're looking to get. But here, I'll try to move it up a little bit so you can see where the blue is going to meet the orange on the painting. Well, it's not really, it's a color drawing, but I won't go too far into that. Oh yeah, here's where the blue is going to meet the orange. And of course, that kicked on when I didn't want it to. It's also, as you know, Jay, you gotta really just let it rip on the tones. You can't be cheap on the amount of pigment you put down. And in this case, because I'm not doing like a ton of like foreground, background illustration, like I'm not, there's no buildings or anything like that. It's pretty much just like a study, more or less. But yeah, here's where the blue meets the orange. Just like the last time I did a little bit of, I did the underpainting, which was basically the brown tones. So right now I'm coming in with the warm and the cool um, to help hopefully make the piece pop. Of course, now my camera's not. There we go. Yeah, I just did the underpainting so that you wouldn't have to watch all the boring stuff, and we wouldn't be here all night. And hopefully, you'd end up with a finished product at the end of the night. I still got to do all the main figure painting, but I think it's doable. I think it's doable in one sitting. Watercolor generally takes a couple of sittings for me, unless it's a tiny, tiny piece, like a headshot or something. I'm actually going to mute the microphone and hopefully not, blow a circuit by running the hair dryer. All right. Well, I mean, that pretty much shows you the blue up against the orange. So what we're going to do is now going to mix some of our midtones and our other colors and what are like the literal colors that you would think of when you see Helena, you know, out causing mayhem. Uh, Thank you very much, Dean. I have no idea if this will be used for anything, but I'll probably have it for sale. I don't. I think in the history of my work on Helena, I've probably sold a handful of pieces. Always mixing my own colors. It's the other reason like some of these things just take me longer than some people. How are we doing there? Not too much yellow. Might need to get some cadmium red mixed in. Let's see how this looks. I think it'll work. I think this tone will work. All right. Start over here. It's a little less risky. That looks pretty good. Like I said, these are more just colored drawings, not true paintings. Just because you can see, you can see the line work that I ink traditionally, and my old painting teacher would be insulted if I called this a painting. Yep, yep. I use the syringe for water. It just makes it so I don't have to load the brush back and forth. That's all. Yeah. Yep. Just for water, and I use it to refill my ink brushes. uh, Brush pens. Anything to speed it up a little bit. Going back and forth for the water is just another thing that slows it down. If I'm sitting on a beach painting on a weekend, I might just not use it or whatever. But if I'm trying to really get something done, and you can see where the orange separates a little bit. And as we get over here onto her arm, like this transparent color is not going to create as big of an impact because of the orange. See? It's going to retain that warmth, but it's going to unify the colors. And you can start to see, because of the underpainting, that there is just a more depth to the colors. Because if you just go in with just your literal colors, you're just not going to get that depth of tone and hue, and it's just not gonna have that same richness to it. Like the richness of the paint itself, only goes so far. You have to use your color theory from back in the learning days. And there's a million YouTube videos that explain color theory better than I ever could. So if it's new to you, then and you want to learn, watercolor painting, I'd highly recommend, seeking out those resources on color and just how it works and how you layer it. Yeah. It's not even pointy. There's no tip on the syringe even. But enough about the syringe. It's just for painting. And the idea also being that, like, the literal color, you're going to get more of it towards the focal point. And for me, like I said, I want to get the attention up to her head, her face, her shoulder, this forearm right here. That's what I'm hoping for in the coloring process. So I will actually exaggerate the level of tones in those places, so that when you're standing far away from this piece and you're looking at it, it's going to look like, at least the goal is that it's going to look like it has, like, basically an arrow pointing right at her face. That's the idea, at least. And it's also just a thing where you look into knowing, like, if someone blushes, obviously, give them rosier cheeks, or if they have freckles or anything else, any other identifying marks. Because you put all that work into the underpainting, it also means that you don't have to go quite as far with your coloring, laying down just hues, because you've already done so much to give it tonality. It was one of the things I never figured out on doing markers. Felt like you had to repeat yourself a zillion times doing markers. And the mixing of colors was not as didn't make as much sense to me. And Helena, like, her as a character, like, she's tough. She, is always always has bruises from being in a scrap. And, like, beauty is not the end goal of the character. Not in the least bit. I can't tell you how many people have told me, like, why don't you draw her, like, pick pick, any comic character, heroine, like, oh, why don't you draw her more like this character or that character? And my answer is usually like, well, that's not who she is. I like that she doesn't look like those characters. down here, you can see as we put a little bit of her flesh tone over the orange, it just stays like this super warm tone. And because of how the colors like change from this point to this point, it creates more dimensionality. Because if you just color a character a flat tone and then fill it in with some shadows, it's not going to have the same glow to it. It's not. It's going to look like it's not going to have the same dimension to it. And we want to keep that orange in there, or at least I do, for the sake of this piece, because of the blue background. Complementary colors, blue and orange, like real simple. It's one of the reasons whenever I get the chance to, someone commissions me to draw the tick, I usually incorporate a lot of orange into the background, or I try to incorporate an orange element because he's this giant blue guy. This is sepia. It's one of the neutral colors that I like to use. I'll use it to mix into her for her cape specifically, and her hair. There will be a little bit of that. Like I want her hair to have a warmth to the brown. Um, so go over here and get a little bit of our burnt sienna. I actually think I need a little bit more sepia. And it's a more neutral shade. And obviously, how do you make a color neutral? Like you mix complementaries. You mix cool with warm. I also got a new brush. Very exciting. Number 4. So we need more tone. Can't be cheap on the pigment. Gotta really go for it. I would say that's the number one mistake I see with people who are just learning watercolor is they're nervous about using more tone and color. And I would advise the opposite. If anything, use too much. There we go. That's a nice color. And I'm actually going to take a little bit of that Algerian crimson and put it in there. Because if you use the same like 6 or 7 colors throughout a piece, there, look how warm that brown is. That's a great brown. And her hair is one of the places where you can say there's going to be some absolute white. So you can actually leave some of that. Don't want to leave all of it. Had a little too much there. Drawing too much attention. Because absolute white just demands attention on a piece. Because it's the complete absence of color. There is no color there. and it creates the most contrast. Same thing with pure black, like those are the two. It just have to be very judicial about how you place it in your composition. And we already added that dimension to her hair. And there's a little bit of orange over here on this side of her hair. And this white line right here from here to here, going up against the shadow here, that's part of the framing. So we want to keep that. That's actually part of her cheek showing through. So we don't want the brown there. We want the brown over here. Ah, did it again. There's lots of that brown. Just don't be nervous about really going for it. Well, I wish all the best of luck to my friends heading out to San Diego this year. I will be at Gem City Comic Con in Dayton, Ohio, which is a terrific comic based art only show. Like, there's just comics and art and artists. And they have one professional wrestler there, but he actually did a comic book. Mr. Al Snow did a comic book with some local creators. So I guess that's the closest thing to a celebrity guest, but he made a book. Good for him. That's pretty cool. I actually saw another wrestler had made a comic book. Rob Van Dam, I saw that he made a comic book. This is actually, Doug, this is the mixed media paper that Strathmore puts out. And this is what they put out when they changed Bristol to no longer be designed for wet media, which they did absolutely change. And I actually had to talk to somebody that worked at Strathmore to learn that. And you'd think that they would, tell the people that have been buying their product for years and years, but they didn't. But he informed me that they created this product to be the all-round wet media, whether it's markers, watercolor. You could even gesso this stuff, I think. But it's really nice, and they have tons of it at what is locally called Ocean State Job Lot, and it's a chain of like closeout stuff, and you can get stuff cheap. And I've been able to get a few pads there for like $7 or $8, and I think the paper's great. I think it's a great product. And they obviously don't pay me to say that. I need to neutralize that a little bit. And how do we neutralize? Just a tiny touch of blue should neutralize that. And there is no point on the syringe. I know the syringe has been a concern for some passersby. It is literally art supplies. And I'm gonna let the skin tone totally dry and the hair dry before we go in and add some more detail to her face. Her cape is a slightly darker gray than the rest of her gear. It's a little warmer here than normal. Let me see if I can add just a little bit more blue to neutralize it. But Doug, you've done Gem City. It's a good show. It's a good little show. Josie's a good person. Out in lovely Dayton, Ohio. The creative process. Creative process takes many forms, Mr. Douglas. Yeah, I recommend it to anyone who's in the area or doesn't have to travel too far. It's a worthwhile event. And in the post Mid Ohio Con world, I don't think there's a better show in Ohio. I mean, the Cincinnati I've heard is pretty good, but it's a lot bigger, I think. I have not done it yet, so but hey Kevin, how you doing? I know I owe you a message. I just don't have an answer for your question yet. Yeah, still doing the Wednesday night streams, and I actually printed some flyers, old-fashioned marketing for while I'm at the shows for the stream. Yes, and I've been going full into the video editing, and some of my contract gigs have been having me do it for them, and I'm gonna full. I can see where I'm gonna be able to actually even do animation with what I'm doing. So expect me to mess around with some animated material later in the year. I don't have time for a little while, but later in the year I'll definitely be messing around with that some. All right. Camille and the cat, they're fine. They're in the other room. I'm sure the cat is continuing to plot my epic demise. No, I'm sure he's just mad that I'm not sitting on the couch so that he can awkwardly stare at me while I draw or read or whatever. Hope everything's good with you. I saw you were picking up some artwork with your buddies with Roger at a comic show. That was pretty cool. We posted some pictures. Hope the missus as well. Some of this yellow. And I want some of this orange. Need some red. Needs to be darker. So let's get a little bit of in there. It's too dark. Yeah, I didn't get a super good look at it in that picture, but I definitely, yeah, if you ever get a scan or a better picture, would love to see it. I did splurge and buy myself some art. If folks want to see that, I can show that off. Nowhere near the price point of a Jim Lee page, but I think I got some pretty good deals. Budget collectors, you know. But yeah, here's one of the pages I got. It's by my buddy Ralph Reese. There's no major characters on it, but it's like, you know, guys in suits talking, and it's beautifully inked. And for 25 bucks, I couldn't pass on it. So, hey, how you doing, Desiree? Thank you. Yeah, working just I got busy this week and I had this piece done and I wanted to have it done in time for the show Saturday. So people seem to like watching the coloring process too. So it's also a little less stressful. For me it is. Because painting and me go way back. We have a much healthier relationship than drawing and me. That page is actually a Valiant page from a book called Dr. Tomorrow. I never read it. I saw it on Anthony Snyder's website, and I knew Ralph had inked one page from that book, but I didn't know which issue. So I looked it up, and it was definitely inked by him. And when I saw a better scan of it, I was like, "That's absolutely Ralph's line work." And for $25, I couldn't pass on it. I also got Yeah, I will miss you as well, Desiree. I'm sorry I can't be there. I'm trying to twist our pal Douglas into his arm into having us team up for next year. So hopefully, if not, I'll do my best to find a way to get a pro badge. All right, we've got the bronze. And it's funny. I was asked why Helena has the hoop motif, and I just said because she likes it. And it's funny because like when she buys other stuff, they all have different hoops in the skirts or the armor or the sword. They all have the hoop motif, and that's kind of like her thing. So, but yeah, I also got a yeah. Here's that Brayfogle page, and again, it's from a book I'd never heard of, but he was the preeminent Batman artist when I was a kid, and I got a half splash with a cool background and a big monster guy for $30. So there are deals to be had out there for the less discerning art collector who just wants examples of artists that they like. I noticed that I missed a spot with the skin tone. And while I'm doing warm colors, I'll just add it in real quick. There we go. Gotta get a little bit more of this new crimson. The first one was my buddy Ralph Reese. Oh shit. Well, we're gonna have to get creative on losing that blob of red. It just flowed out of the tube. It's the hazard with new paints. Might be able to scrape it off. And then we'll come back with some. Not really public. There's only a handful of us here, and she's a fan of yours too. But I'm also planning on just applying for a pro badge. So if that doesn't, stuff doesn't work out with NEC or anything, I want to just be ready to roll next year. I will do the thing where you sit in line digitally for this time. The only thing I was mad about with the trying to get a pro badge this last time was I contacted them just to ask them like, when to stand in line, and basically the reply I got was like, you should stand in line forever. And then they never reopened the pro badge applications. Hey, if I have a spot and you want to split on the table, you're always welcome. Trying to get my table locked up for Baltimore. It's been a little tougher than I thought it would be, but this is actually too red, and this happens sometimes. So we've got to soften it up, neutralize it a little bit, get some brown in there. Because she doesn't wear lipstick. There is no lipstick. There we go. It's a little more orange. There we go. That's better. When that dries, it'll soften, trust me. Minecon, yes, that would be me. Hey, that's a good way to look at it. An accidental drip. But in this case, I want to keep this this background blue because I'm trying to keep it as a warm, cool shift. Um, on another piece, I might mix in some purples and stuff, but on here, it's really just like I want the orange pulling the eye down, and then I want the focus here. So I'll just get myself, and this is actually one of the reasons why it's good to have a reliable crutch, as I say. Um, and for me, it is actually this color here. This is Payne's Gray, and it's the only tube that I buy in this size, the next size up. So that tells you how much I abuse the use of that color. See, and I even add a little bit of neutral to her eye color. Because I know, like 100 years from now, if any of my artwork is still alive and it needs authenticating, if there is Payne's Gray in the color, it's probably C2E2. Nice. That's been on my list for a while to try to do it, but just haven't been able to. You know how it is. There's too many. There's a million cons to do, and you got to be judicial. At least I do, as far as my budget goes. Um, but I've heard nothing but great things, and I'm sure people will be thrilled to get some new Arsenic Lullaby or check out those new pages you were showing me. Those look great, man. I don't know if I can say anything about them on here, but they look super cool to me. 3 panel progressions. I'm probably the only person who flips through a comic new off the rack, and if they see a 3 panel progression, they're like, "Oh, well, this is interesting. I should pick this up." Yeah, won't say a word, but they look great, man. Very cool designs. Yeah, those minor differences can just create those wonderful little headaches of like, why doesn't this work? It always worked. I actually had a job not too long ago that I drew in comic book size, and then like halfway through, they're like, "Oh, it's magazine size," and yeah, neither I nor anyone working on that book was very happy at that moment. It's one of those where it's like, I'd give you 3 guesses, but you'll probably only need one for who that was. There we go. See, that's a slightly cooler gray. can you completely change this aspect ratio? And then it like, you're moving panels and doing fill-in patch artwork. It was not fun. And they're still sitting on that job. So all the extra work has not come to fruition yet. So if there's a staticky sound, I can try the quick fix that I know. Hold on. Hello? Is that better? Hello, hello? I don't know if that's any better, but hey. What's the one fix that I know how to do? Sweet. Sorry about that. Sorry, I wish I was better at this stuff, but I have my limitations. Huzzah! Yeah, they take some getting used to. Well, I can show you my crutch fix. This is just more of that Payne's gray, like I said. I've got a second dish over here so that I can do my fixes. No, you didn't. The only thing that I've ever done is just add a bunch of tape to them. Like you can use grip tape for like a baseball bat. Once that dries, it'll fix the color. We do need to add a little bit more red. All right, now we need some pure of this red that dripped all over my palette, of course. Oh, that is a good idea. Yeah, I'd give that a shot for sure. Especially as my hands get worse as I get older. Gotta get some scrap paper. Ugh. Oh, that's nice. You can leave it on when you're washing it. That is a good thing. I'm just making a quick mask. This piece of tape. And then this part I can just hold. Not in this case because it's really cheap tape. It's about the cheapest you can buy. There we go. If you bought good tape, yes. If you were rich with tape with your unlimited tape budget, I actually just had to spend a ton of money on tape for, shipping a bunch of stuff. And this is where I just have fun with, like, imagining where, the different bits of spatter help define the shape and would make sense. You're right, yeah. That's when I need to get one of those, things they use to, like, blow on the, what do you call it? The fireplace, the bellows. That's the other trick to drawing Helena. She's never, completely, like, clean. Like I said, there's bruises, there's cuts, there's dirt in her hair, she's off adventuring, It's just one time I had an artist ask me, like, "How does she do her hair?" Like, she just hacks it off with a knife when it gets too long. That's pretty much the extent of it. All right, we just need a tiny bit of bleed-proof white on a few places, and then I think we're done for the evening. This will be like our record speed night, which is good for me because it's been a long day. And I did have a couple of nice folks ask about when I'm opening up commissions for in the mail. I I still don't have a direct answer for that because through the mail, it's just like fitting it in with everything and doing them quick enough. It's one of the reasons I like to just pre-do a bunch of stuff and put them for sale on my website, which I actually will be updating next week. My pre-pandemic list. I have been chipping away at it slower than molasses, I gotta say. I know I owe you a Lord Crackus piece. And that's just another reason why I haven't been like, yeah, let's just set up commissions and do them through the mail. I just my never-ending list of to-dos. I actually had someone message me asking if I was still doing free drawings for frontline workers, and I have not answered them yet. I didn't know what to say to them because I feel like I should if they're out there doing important stuff to help people. Oh no, every single one's important. And please do not hesitate to send me reminders for things, please. Like it is genuinely helpful. And I don't get angry. I just get like, oh shoot, and then I get to work. And this point here, this is why I generally call these mixed media pieces, because I am cheating a little bit using this opaque white. Oh, I'm glad. I'm glad. But as you can see, the idea is that there's more orange here, and that the orange on the figure creates this focal point as it decreases towards the face. Like that's the idea. And as the orange heads out, it pops against the blue. Like that's the overall hope. That's the intent of the piece. And I know it's like, the death of the author if you explain your intent, but I genuinely don't think I'm that important. So it's just I'd rather people understood what I was going for. Yeah. We'll use our fancy zoom lens, which is cranking on my tripod. And yeah, there's the piece. One of the things I noticed on the stream is that when I look at the screen, you really don't get any of the yellows. And that's so strange to me. And like the subtle oranges, you get the blues, but not the oranges. And I'm gonna have to learn why that is. I'm gonna have to learn why the camera doesn't pick up the yellows as much. That's so strange to me. But anyway, this was a lot of fun. I know not a lot of folks know who this character is, but she's really important to me, and I had a lot of fun doing this. So I hope you all have a beautiful night, and I can't thank you enough for continuing to hang out with me and support my work. It means the world, and I hope to see as many of you as I can next week. For those that are traveling to conventions, good luck, sell a ton, make $1 billion, and have a creatively and spiritually fulfilling journey. I will see you next week.